Hello and welcome to the 5th edition of the Top MBA Bookshelf. Today I will talk about The Innovator's Dilemma, a book that popularized the term disruption, published in 1997 by Clayton Christensen of the Harvard Business School. Why does Christensen talk about an innovator's dilemma? Because he starts by showing how the good, sound business decision that made organizations successful also sow the seeds of their demise. These companies study market trends, allocate capital rationally to innovation that promise the best returns, move to higher-end products that follow their customer demands, generating higher margins and higher profits. And yet, they get disrupted. In other words, they got disrupted despite management doing everything right by the Harvard Business School playbook. Just like IBM, leader in the mainframes in the 70s, and yet that got disrupted by digital and HP in mini computers, who in turn got disrupted in desktop computers by Apple and other PC makers, and then in turn the PC makers got disrupted by Nokia and BlackBerry with the first cell phone, and then they got disrupted by Apple in iPhones. So why was each generation of computing led by a new company, smaller than the incumbents, with worse products that had worse performance? Part of the answer lies in that incumbent companies select new products based on net present value, and that markets that don't exist are hard to represent with those net present values. So even though the technology for disruptive product is typically available at those incumbent companies, and even prototypes ready, like Nokia, who had a touchscreen prototype when the iPhone launched, only incremental innovations get developed, and prototype for disruptive product end up collecting dust in drawers. So how do we define disruption? A term that's being used and abused these days. Disruption is the process by which a small company outcompetes an established larger one, and does that by either acquiring customers at the low end in terms of performance and margin, low end of the market, like Toyota did with small cars in the US, which meant that the established company like General Motors had little incentive to fight back for those low-end products and instead focused on larger cars and SUVs. Or by creating a new market that's not served by the incumbents, competing on a different type of performance, such as the ARM chips in the cell phones that competed on energy efficiency rather than raw processing power that you could find in the Intel chips. And now you can see that the latest chip by Apple, the M1, that's also built on that ARM architecture used in the chips for cell phones, now also gives Intel a run for their money even in the raw processing power. So you will find examples of disruption in industry ranging from cars to electronics, from steel to photography. So does it mean that you can apply that theory of disruption to any product or market? Not quite. Take hotels. Holiday Inn came in at the bottom, but could not move up to disrupt Hilton, because to do so, they would need to replicate all the infrastructure and the setup of Hilton, therefore incurring very high cost and losing their competitive advantage. So it didn't work. But where Holiday Inn did not disrupt the hoteling industry, Airbnb did, because the online platform upon which their business model is predicated can easily be extended. In other words, disruption works where the product relies on the technological core that can be extended. So what does disruption mean for your industry, for your company? How can you organize for disruption? and maybe even disrupt yourself. Here are a few hints that Christensen observed about most disruptive businesses. There are new organizations developing or commercializing a product, using a proven technology, not a far-fetched breakthrough technology, but using it in a novel product architecture, and experimenting outside of the incumbent customers and applications because it's easier to get their attention, focus on the performance demand of those new customers or the new dimensions of value that those new customers need, and looking at how fast that technological core can be improved and extended. And finally, creating the ecosystems to make and commercialize those products and make those business models work outside of the mainstream ones. That's all, folks, for today. I hope to see you soon for our next edition of the Top MBA Bookshelf. Thank you.